Hi, this is Carrie, Christ-centered counselor and life coach with Promise Coaching. Today, I'm going to give you 4 red flags to spot that should make you walk. As soon as you see these 4 things happen, it is time to go. And the reason I'm doing this video in particular is because people typically tell you who they are right in the beginning. In the beginning of a relationship, when they're getting to know you, when they're establishing trust with you, and you being an authentic, genuine person, being vulnerable and open, giving them that space to do the same with you as well, they will naturally open up to you about things about themselves that are major red flags that you don't want to miss. So the first thing is what they tell you about their character, meaning how they've treated other people, how they've treated past relationships, how they've handled past relationships, how they've treated women that they've been with in any area of their life, whether it's in a past marriage, relationship, their mother, their sister, how they've behaved in these relationships and treated these relationships is huge for you to understand. So one thing when you're learning about these past relationships and asking questions, which is so important, it is so important to ask the hard questions, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable, even if you think it's going to make him feel uncomfortable. There are really important questions that you need to be asking. And this is just so that you can gain an idea of who this person is before you decide to be vulnerable with this person. And as you're learning to trust this person, you want to make sure that this person is someone that you can trust. A friend of mine asked me to share some of my personal experiences in this video, so I'm going to. A lot of times, these narcissistic men will share with you exactly how poorly they've treated women in the past. And so this is the first thing you want to pay attention to. I had an ex tell me that he had cheated on 2 of his past relationships. These were committed relationships that he was in both of for less than 2 years and had cheated on both of these women. So obviously he had commitment issues, and I still ended up in a relationship with him. And guess what? He ended up cheating on me too. Lo and behold. So these people don't typically change. They might tell you, oh, that's not me anymore. I'm a different person now. And maybe in very few rare cases, that is the case. But usually when someone has a pattern or a history of cheating, it isn't going to stop with you. Another ex of mine, actually, who I was engaged to last year, told me about something horrible that he did to this woman only 2 months before meeting me. And when he told me how he treated this woman, and I'm not going to say what she did, because this is the bottom line. It doesn't really matter what she did. The way that he acts in the relationship and the way that he behaves is his character, regardless of how he's reacting or responding to someone. And that's another important thing to remember. Just because she did this or she did that, and the way that they're going to paint it to be is that she somewhat deserved that behavior. So that's another sign. See how he's blame shifting and using her as the scapegoat for his bad behavior? That's another thing to look out for. And the funny thing was, when my ex-fiance told me this story, I thought, wow, he really doesn't seem like the type of person that would do something like that. This woman must have been really awful for him to have behaved that way towards her. So stop making excuses, because as people who have a tendency to be codependent, we want to naturally do that. We want to make excuses for someone and help them carry their shame and their burdens and their bad behavior. That's not your responsibility. That's his, and only he is responsible for his behavior and his character. So pay close attention to those stories that he's sharing with you about the way that he's treated people, especially women, in his life. The second thing is catching them in a lie. And in most cases, if you are dealing with a narcissist, you will end up catching them in a lie, and usually more than one, because they are liars by nature. They lie about who they are. Their words don't match up with their actions. They don't follow through on anything that they say or commit to, because they are essentially lying to themselves about who they are every single day, and therefore lying to everyone else about who they are as well. So, some examples of lies that you might catch them in is they might tell you something as simple as they broke up with an ex 3 months ago and they hadn't heard from her or spoken with her, but then you two might be sitting together and you see a text pop up from the ex that he told you about, and you ask him about it and confront him, and he says, oh, I don't know why she's texting me. And then the more that you dig, the more that you realize he wasn't being honest. And then his story might change and he might say, actually, the last time we spoke was about 4 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, when he initially told you that he hadn't spoken with her in 3 months. So little things like that are going to pop up, and you're going to notice the story just doesn't line up. The things don't add up that he's saying. So you'll be catching him in those lies here and there as they pop up. He might lie about the most ridiculous things. And actually, that's one thing I have found very common with narcissists. They lie about things that they don't even need to be lying about. And you're just like, why would you lie about that? So it's just their life is one big lie, and they just are not genuine, authentic people that can be honest with themselves, can honestly self-reflect, and that's why they're so dishonest with everyone around them. Number 3 is if they tell you that they love you or are in love with you before they even know you. And this is a huge red flag as well, because that means that that person is idealizing you. And that's what narcissists do. They live in a false sense of reality. So they're constantly idealizing you, constantly idealizing the relationship and romanticizing things in their head until the devaluation phase, when they start having contemptuous thoughts and feelings towards you instead. So suddenly they go from loving you, love bombing you, and thinking you are the greatest thing in the world, putting you on a pedestal, to knocking you off and telling you in so many ways, in so many words or so many actions, how meaningless and worthless you really are to them. It takes time to really get to know someone enough to be able to say that you love them. When you're able to trust them with your vulnerabilities, when you're able to trust them with their words, and you build upon a foundation of trust, and there's a mutual respect, and there's consistent communication and communication through conflict, and you're learning how to deal with and handle conflict together in healthy ways, even if somebody might have been acting unreasonable or irrational. That's a lot of times what conflict does, is bring out those flaws in each other. So if you're able to act in grace and mercy and love and learn each other through all of those things, that's what enables you to determine someone's true character and intentions in the relationship. And only until you can get through all of those things together and build upon that foundation can you really determine if you love that person. Otherwise, they don't really love you. They're not in love with you. They're in love with the idea of you. They're in love with what they want to believe about you and the relationship, and not really who you are. And that alone in itself devalues you. Number 4, they will not handle or deal with conflict in a healthy way. Narcissists typically deal with conflict or confrontation in one of 2 ways. They either deal with it with anger and rage, hostility, it comes out in a very controlling manner and blame shifting and just not working through it with you. They do not take full accountability for their actions and behaviors. And if they do, it's usually not just blame shifting, it's called blame sharing. So they try to share the blame of their behavior with you and somehow make you part of why they behaved the way that they did. So they're either going to lose their temper, try and control and manipulate the situation by blame shifting, gaslighting, or the other way that they'll deal with it is by stonewalling and disconnecting from the relationship. And not everyone who's a narcissist does this. There are other reasons why people can do that. But that is another thing that a narcissist might do, is stonewall. And when they do that, they are using it as a punishing type behavior. Like, you don't deserve to have my presence. You don't deserve to have my communication. This is how I'm punishing you. I'm going to remove my presence. I'm going to abandon the relationship. And then that leaves you with absolutely nothing to work with. So those are the two main ways that a narcissist is going to handle conflict or confrontation. And that goes right back into building that foundation in the relationship with someone that you can trust and that you know well enough to continue being able to be vulnerable with that person and grow in the relationship with them in love. I hope this was helpful, and I would love to hear from you if you've experienced any major red flags that you could add to this list and share with our community. And if you like this video, please hit like, subscribe to this channel, and you'll see more videos like this. Take care.